Good morning, everyone. My name is Akshay Thakur. I'd like to talk to you about IDEALondon this morning. And I'd like to also talk to you about some of the startups that we have based at IDEALondon. But before I do, I'd like to give you a bit of context into what IDEALondon is all about. You might have seen the pod in the DevNet zone behind you, but maybe you're not from the UK, so I'll give you a bit of an insight into what we're actually doing in terms of innovation in the UK. So I'm based in the UK. I'm part of the business development team, which is focused on innovation and the creation of new markets. And we've created an innovation center in a partnership with University College London and DC Thompson. Now, we've created this innovation center because we believe in entrepreneurship and driving innovation through partnerships with early stage companies. This innovation center that we've actually built is a physical space that is in the heart of Tech City, in an area called Shoreditch. And this is an area where we've got a fantastic, vibrant clash of technology, business, and culture. It is a center where we have about 16 startups working in this space. We opened this space about a year and 3 months ago. It was opened by David Cameron, our Prime Minister in the UK. And since then, we've been growing the awareness of what IDEALondon is all about. But most importantly, what Cisco has been doing has been hand-picking early-stage companies that we believe are actually showing some promise, they have some potential for growth, and we're actually helping those companies achieve their potential through the partnership with Cisco. So today, after I've given you a bit of an insight into what IDEALondon is all about, I'll invite two of the startups that we've incubated in IDEALondon to give their experiences, but then also talk to you about how they've used the DevNet program to their advantage. So I mentioned we have companies that we incubate at IDEALondon, and I also mentioned we have about 16 of these companies already incubated. But in truth, we actually have had more than 16. We've had companies come into IDEALondon and also graduate from IDEALondon. The one thing to mention over here, though, is that it's both DC Thompson and UCL and Cisco who've actually hand-chosen these companies who we decide actually show some potential, and we incubate them through the program at IDEALondon. The ones that are actually highlighted with a blue glow around them are the ones that Cisco's actually been championing. So we have Witos, SPARKL, RealStatus, SnapFashion, and EnergyDAC. And what you might also see is that the companies at IDEALondon represent a vast variety of sectors, which you can see on the left of the slide, but they also represent and actually innovate in a vast variety of technology areas, which you'll see on the right-hand side. And within both those sectors and technology areas, you see that Cisco essentially plays in many of those areas. And that's why we are very interested in looking and keeping up to date with what's actually happening in the startup land in London. The way I like to think of it is that having our finger on the pulse of technology allows us to see what's actually coming around the corner in terms of technology innovations in the UK. And that is why that we are actually working with these early stage companies. So in terms of what we actually do at IDEALondon is we generally pick up companies who are somewhat established, have some sort of customer base already, and we intend to incubate and accelerate their growth. And we do that through various mechanisms. Firstly, there's a really robust educational program, which is focused on product development, into first customer acquisition, finance and funding, and then the latter stages is all about scaling and growth. But on top of that, what we offer to the Cisco champion startups is that we provide them with two mentors, a technology mentor and a business mentor. And these two individuals are essentially charged with getting to know the company inside out, and then helping the business development team that is associated with IDEALondon accelerate and grow that business. We also hold many customer sessions down at IDEAL, and that is another one of the great advantages that we bring to the companies. We introduce them to Cisco customers, partners, and our own sales teams. And then on top of that, what we do and what we have in terms of IDEALondon is a monetization team, which actually takes that innovation and makes it a sustainable business. So I only want to give you a quick overview of what IDEALondon actually does, but I'd like the startups to talk about their experiences. But what I will say is that we are open for applications. We are very interested in startups and early stage companies which are innovating in the space of Internet of Everything, SDN, big data, security, and video. So if you are a developer or you know developers who are based in the UK and looking to be incubated, please apply to IDEALondon. So with that, let me introduce you to our first startup. So Jacoby from SPARKL was one of the first companies that were actually incubated at IDEALondon. And Jacoby, could you please talk about your experiences with IDEALondon, but then also with the DevNet program?
Yeah, absolutely. SPARKL is one of the startups that went to IDEALondon. We joined a year and a half ago now. And I have benefited from two mentors who have been helping SPARKL take its technology and move it forward. One of those is Jed Fitton, who's sitting at the back trying to look inconspicuous. And another is Nathan Sawatsky, who's sitting somewhere on the pods over there looking even more inconspicuous. But when it comes to helping me, those guys have been really conspicuous. The mentoring they do takes the form of helping us with business plans, networking within Cisco, enabling us to make sense of the Cisco range of products and work with the DevNet tools to make our products better. So we're getting a lot of help by being in IDEALondon, and it's been, for us, a really great accelerator or incubation program. I think there's a distinction between incubation and acceleration, but we're finding ourselves really well incubated. What is SPARKL is a great question. It's a piece of code, and it forms the link between application logic and automation of data centers. I don't know who was at Dave Ward's presentation yesterday, but he was talking about having declarative abstractions that enable infrastructures to conduct business-level flows. That's what SPARKL enables. And it works really well with the developing world of software-defined networking, software-defined compute, software-defined storage, and all the other aspects of a software-defined enterprise. We are benefiting from the environment in IDEAL, partly because we're getting some help to develop our story of what SPARKL actually does in the wider world of IT. In this picture here, you can see that an infrastructure in an enterprise comprises the networking and infrastructure, middleware often in a large enterprise. We put SPARKL on top of that to control the middleware, drive events through it, and control and provision the software-defined environment underneath it. And then you'll have applications on top of that. So that's the role of SPARKL in an enterprise architecture. Developing a story for a startup is really hard. One starts off with a technology or an idea or an obsession in many cases, but turning that into something you can communicate to an audience is a remarkably time-consuming and iterative process. And while you're doing that, you're spending money. And so accelerating that process is really important for a startup. And that's the value of IDEAL. Now, it's not only IDEAL that we've had a lot of benefit from. We've also used DevNet. So the DevNet tools we have used include Viral, which is the virtualization and modeling environment for networks, within which you can even model hosts as well as routers. We've used 1PK, which is the SDN API provided on some of Cisco's routers. We've used APChem, which is the policy-based infrastructure controller, which is a really neat piece of kit. Identity Services Engine, PX Grid, which is the middleware that allows various pieces of Cisco tech to communicate. So we've used all of this tech. And these are all part of the DevNet initiative to open up APIs over which developers like us can create new products. So to summarize my pitch, I guess, it's about IDEAL as an incubator has helped us develop a story, and DevNet as a set of platforms has helped us make our vision of what can happen in infrastructure real. And you'll find us in the IDEAL pod, which is about 2 back that way, demonstrating what SPARKL can do. So please drop by and be baffled by me as I give a demo of our technology. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, I've got a handover. So let me hand over to Stace, who is one of my fellow startups, and he has a truly amazing piece of tech to talk about.
Thank you, Jacob.
Okay.
Are we live? Good. All right. So, as it says here, I'm Stace. I'm from RealStatus. I'm the CEO. Now, here we go. So, RealStatus is a little bit more advanced than most of the. Well, when I say advanced, we're older than most of the startups in Ideal. We're 3.5 years old. When you go on the startup journey, there's ups and there's downs. We've had our downs, and we're back on the up again now. So we're just acquiring our first customers now. Like I said, based in London. We're angel-backed, so we came into Ideal with having angel funding already, and we're going through there. But Ideal helps us refine our pitches, etc. So it's actually been really helpful for me. And what we do, we focus on data relationships. So the whole pitch and the whole thing is to visualize the relationships you have in IT. So relationships matter, as you know, and whether that be person-to-person relationships, router-to-router, switch-to-router, or even in the cloud. So we cover actually the whole of IT because we pull those APIs that are now so commonplace. So what you're showing here, basically, I thought my one's more of a pitch than Jacoby's, but I've got the audience, so I might as well. So the idea is basically we want to do simple IT management. Now, IT is not simple, and it's going to become more complicated with the advent of APIs. But with the advent of virtualization, IoT, etc. But actually having the ability to pull those APIs gives us a unique opportunity now to see the end-to-end, which has been really hard before. And when you have a look at viral that Jacoby talked about, so we can now actually have a system where you can look at cloud, because that's got APIs, you can look at public and private, the virtualization layer, and the hardware layer. So what we do is we put it into using gaming graphics. My background is networking, but I used to play a lot of first-person shooter games, and if you can actually go and see Oculus over there, I'd highly recommend it. They do have sick bags if you need them. But the idea was you get so much information using gaming graphics these days. And in IT, in enterprises, we actually don't use it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to use the current technology to actually monitor and manage the new technology that's coming about. So, I mean, as I said, this pitch is mainly for network engineers. So this has been told before. Aggregation, people try to say, they want to have a single point of truth, etc. And it has been really hard in the past. But now everything's got an API. Things are publishing to a central point. So we actually can get the data, and it's actually a lot easier. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we actually get a lot more information than we used to be able to. And APIs are built in by default. When you have a look at all the new systems, you always have an API, so you always can pull that data. And Hyperglance, we're built from the ground up to pull that data. So when you have a look at the network management systems or the cloud management systems, etc., a lot of the times they're built off old technologies. But we're built from the ground up to aggregate and then visualize that in the best way possible. Or we think the best way possible, obviously. Okay, it's another pitch basically saying we love APIs. They're there, we use them, you should use them. They're actually relatively simple. And that's coming from a network engineer myself. It was a bit of a journey, but it's actually relatively easy to get hold of the data sources, to get hold of the tools, to be able to pull that data in and actually use it in your day-to-day life. So this is coming back to the relationships matter in networking, in cloud, but also in your day-to-day life. Obviously, LinkedIn is a huge thing for everyone here, and that's just a network. That's just a relationship graph. And that shows how much you can actually value and how useful it is. So I'll go through why we like Cisco. The reason why developers, or myself as a developer, like working with Cisco, it's customer proven, 80, 90% in some sectors. They are the behemoth of the networking world, so we can actually tap in to those customers. Breadth and depth. Now, Cisco now has storage, it has cloud, and it has networking. So they really have expanded out, and that's a perfect data sources for us. And they are pushing the innovation with SDN and cloud, and Open Daylight, I think, is a good example of that. The base code is basically Cisco's in Open Daylight. And DevNet, whilst it's relatively new, the tools there are great, and the people are really helpful. So if you would take advantage of the tools and the skill set that you can grab hold of. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to give you a quick demo. I might as well. So what I'm showing here, our last product was a FAT client, which means that it runs as an exe on a computer or on a Mac. But we're actually moving over to the web. So once again, it's an example of the technologies and us using open source, but also proprietary. So as I said before, we were pulling in data. And so what this is an example of, this is actually an Open Daylight data set that's pulling directly from this, and it's actually running in the net. And so what we've got is a dynamic 3D relationship graph here. So as I said, the idea is if we can pull those relationship data and we can show it to customers, we can show it to staff, so they can actually see the relationships, get the data out. But the great thing with APIs is you don't actually have to only pull, but we can now push that down as well. So you can start and stop flows in the cloud. You can terminate instances or start instances. So basically, it enables you to interactively adjust your network and your cloud on the fly using a modern GUI. So basically, if I select any one of these, so each one of these is a router or router. If I select that, I get the data. I can zoom in. Sorry, it's a bit hard to control. And we also have the interfaces as well. Now, this is just a prototype. This is going to be out in a couple of months. But what it shows you is you can do this, you can do it in a browser, and you can actually give customers and users a lot more intuitive and quick way to be able to see, monitor, and alarm. Okay, thank you very much. I'll pass it back to Akshay to wrap up.
Great, thank you, Stace. Okay, I hope you've had a good insight into what IDEALondon does, in particular with the companies that we're actually incubating at IDEALondon. But it would be remiss of me not to mention that IDEALondon is part of a global program that Cisco is actually running in terms of IOE Innovation Centers. It is one of 7 that we actually have around the globe. There's definitely London that we are actually representing today. Along with Cisco Create, we make up the centers of London. And our closest partner in Europe is Berlin. So if you're either situated around those 2 cities, please reach out to either Open Berlin, IDEALondon, or Cisco Create. But the other thing I'd like to talk to you about is, innovation is something that's close to, close to the heart of Cisco. It's part of our DNA, and it's top of mind for all of our customers. And one of the things we've decided, well, what we've actually been doing at Cisco is, innovation comes not only from our own R&D, it doesn't only come from our own acquisition of early stage companies. It comes from partnership with the correct and the right ecosystem partners. And it is with that in mind that we are actually embarking on this journey of working with early stage companies. And as I said earlier, it is all about actually having our finger on the pulse of technology. But in the UK, it is not just IDEALondon or Cisco Create. We actually have 2 other key initiatives which actually make up the overarching innovation program that we call the British Innovation Gateway. And within this program, we have initiatives which essentially cover or potentially provide innovation or entrepreneurship support to the whole of the startup community. We actually run a competition each year, which is called the Big Awards, which essentially aims to find the top 3 startups based in the UK who are innovating in the space of IOE, big data, mobility, video, and collaboration. We've been running that competition for 2 years now, and it is going to be launched once again this year on 17th of March. But this year it's going to have a slightly different twist. We've taken an approach where we'll be essentially concentrating more on IOE than anything else. And this competition, as I said, is run for 2 years. We open it up to all early stage businesses. They essentially apply to Cisco on the ciscobig.co.uk website. And then Cisco will go through the assessment process. We'll go and then provide mentors to all semi-finalists. We'll actually have a Dragon's Den type pitch-off in central London to actually find the winner. And those winners are actually not just awarded with prize money, but they're also provided with mentorship from Cisco from a technology point of view, but then also our big partners who are covering, digital media, a PR agency, a law firm, and also a HR agency. So it is the whole package that we provide to these early stage companies to really help them grow their business. Another initiative that we actually have is recognizing that innovation occurs throughout the entire country. It's not just based in London. So throughout the UK, we've actually found 12 other centers which are actually regarded as a center of excellence in terms of innovation for their area of expertise. And what we've actually done is created a video network which connects all these centers together. And this is what we call the National Virtual Incubator. It is, again, an alliance of members. It consists of universities, academia institutions, research and science parks, and local government partnerships who are all focused on driving entrepreneurship in the UK. And they do this through various different forms. They may be centres like IDEALondon scattered around the UK, but we're essentially running programs to develop these companies. And the one thing that I'm keen to get out of this initiative of the National Virtual Incubator is that we have expertise essentially in clusters around the UK. We might actually have expertise in gaming in one part of the UK, but then in another part of the UK we have a sheer expertise in e-health and medtech. And I wonder what will actually happen if a gamer and a person with a medtech background really got together and created a solution. And it is those type of solutions we're actually looking to foster in the UK. So I've already spoken about IDEALondon. The previous presentation was focused on Cisco Create, which is all about collaborative research and emerging technologies. So hopefully this gives you a bit of a big picture that Cisco in the UK has a big program called the British Innovation Gateway. It is all about working with early stage companies and essentially having our finger on the pulse of technology. Thank you for your attention.